The secret behind the stars. Captain Elena Vasquez floated in the observation deck of Mining Station Omega-7, watching the endless dance of cargo ships moving between the asteroids. To anyone monitoring from the outside, this looked like another boring human mining operation. The same kind of work that humans had been doing for the past 40 years since joining the Galactic Trade Union. The alien species in the galaxy saw humans as excellent workers, good at digging up metals and building basic structures, but nothing more than that. Elena smiled as she watched a massive cargo hauler dock with the station. The aliens had no idea what they were really looking at. What appeared to be a simple mining station was actually something far more incredible. Hidden behind false walls and disguised as ore processing equipment was the most advanced manufacturing facility the galaxy had ever seen. "Captain, we have another delivery from the Centauri system," announced Lieutenant Commander Jake Rivera from the communications station. "The Zephyrians think they're just selling us raw titanium, but they have no idea what we're really building with it." Elena nodded. The Zephyrians were one of the more peaceful alien species in the galaxy. They had beautiful crystal cities and loved to create art, but they needed the basic metals that humans were supposedly just mining and refining for them. What they did not know was that every ton of metal they sold to humans was being transformed into something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The true purpose revealed. Deep within the mining station, Chief Engineer Marcus Chen supervised the real work happening behind the scenes. What looked like a normal mining facility from the outside was actually a forge ship, a mobile manufacturing plant capable of producing anything from small tools to massive starships. The humans had spent 4 decades perfecting this technology, while the rest of the galaxy thought they were just simple miners and builders. "Marcus, how is the progress on Section 12? Elena asked as she made her way through the corridors that looked like typical mining station passages, but were actually highly advanced manufacturing centers. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked his tablet. "We're ahead of schedule, Captain. The new fabrication units are working perfectly. We can now produce a full destroyer-class vessel in just 6 hours instead of 6 days. The alien species have no idea that their simple human workers have been developing technology that makes their most advanced factories look like Stone Age workshops." Elena walked to a viewing window that showed what appeared to be a standard ore processing center. But as she watched, she could see the truth. Massive robotic arms were not just processing raw materials. They were assembling complex components for starships. Automated systems were creating advanced weapons and defensive systems. The entire operation was disguised so perfectly that even if alien inspectors visited, they would only see exactly what they expected to see. "The Galactic Trade Union still thinks we're just good at following their blueprints and building their designs," Marcus continued with a grin. "They have no idea that we've been improving everything we touch. Every structure we've built for them contains hidden upgrades. Every ship we've repaired now has better systems than when it left the original factory." The galaxy's underestimation. For 40 years, the alien species had treated humans as useful but unremarkable members of galactic society. The Kalari Empire used humans to mine asteroids in dangerous regions because humans were considered brave but expendable. The Nexus Federation hired human construction crews because they were reliable and did not ask too many questions about what they were building. The Crystal Collective purchased human refined metals because they were pure and inexpensive. None of these advanced civilizations had bothered to really study human capabilities. They saw what they expected to see. A young species that was good with their hands but lacked the intellectual capacity for truly advanced technology. This was exactly what humanity had wanted them to think. Elena remembered the early days when humans first joined the Galactic Trade Union. The aliens had been polite but condescending, offering humans simple jobs like mining, construction, and basic manufacturing. The alien leaders had explained that it would take centuries for humanity to develop the knowledge needed for more advanced work. They had suggested that humans should be grateful for the opportunity to learn from their betters. What the aliens had not realized was that humans learned everything much faster than expected. Every job they gave to humans, every piece of technology they shared, every manufacturing process they demonstrated, was studied and improved by human engineers working in secret. Within 10 years, Humans had not just mastered alien technology, they had begun surpassing it. Project Titan unveiled. "Captain, we're receiving a coded transmission from Earth Command," announced Communications Officer Sarah Wong. "It's marked with the highest security classification." Elena made her way to the secure communications room, a space that was completely hidden from the mining station's official layout. As she entered, the voice of Admiral Patricia Hayes filled the room. "Elena, this is Patricia. I hope you're ready because Operation Revelation is about to begin. We've been patient for 40 years, building our strength while the galaxy saw us as simple workers. But recent intelligence suggests that we may not have the luxury of remaining hidden much longer." Elena felt her heart rate increase. They had always known this day would come, but she had hoped for a few more years of preparation. Admiral Hayes continued, "The Apex Consortium has been identified as a major threat to peaceful species throughout the galaxy. They're not just a corporation, Elena. They're a military force that has been systematically enslaving entire civilizations. Their technology is more advanced than anything the Galactic Trade Union has encountered, and they're moving toward inhabited systems." Elena understood the implications immediately. The Apex Consortium had been operating in the outer regions of the galaxy for decades, but most species had ignored them because they only seemed to target uninhabited worlds. Now it was becoming clear that they had been building their strength, just like humanity had been doing, but for very different purposes. "How many Forge ships do we have ready for deployment?" Elena asked. 17 fully operational Forge ships are currently disguised as mining stations throughout the galaxy, Admiral Hayes replied. "Each one is capable of manufacturing an entire fleet within days. We also have 43 smaller Forge vessels disguised as cargo haulers and construction ships. The aliens think they're just watching us do basic work, but we've been preparing for this moment since the day we joined the Galactic community." The moment of truth. Elena looked out at her mining station with new eyes. In a few hours, this would no longer be a disguised operation. The galaxy would learn what humanity had really been doing for the past 4 decades. The question was whether they were ready for what was coming. "Marcus," she called to her chief engineer, "begin Phase 1 preparations. It's time to show the galaxy what human ingenuity can really accomplish." Marcus nodded grimly. "All systems are ready, Captain. We can begin manufacturing operations within the hour. The first squadron of ships will be ready for deployment in 6 hours. After that, we can maintain continuous production of whatever the situation requires." Elena thought about all the alien species who had treated humans as simple workers. They had meant no harm by their attitude. They had simply underestimated human potential. Soon they would learn that the species they had considered useful but unremarkable had actually become the most advanced manufacturing civilization in the galaxy. "Sarah, send a message to all human Forge ships," Elena ordered. "Tell them that Operation Revelation begins in T-4 hours. 40 years of preparation are about to be put to the test." As Elena watched the final preparations begin, she reflected on humanity's journey. They had accepted the role of galactic laborers, not because they were limited, but because it had given them access to materials and knowledge they needed. Every mining operation had been a cover for gathering rare materials. Every construction project had been an opportunity to study alien technology. Every seemingly simple job had been part of a master plan to ensure humanity's survival in a galaxy that was far more dangerous than most species realized. The Forge ships were humanity's answer to that danger. Mobile manufacturing plants that could produce anything needed for defense, exploration, or humanitarian aid. They represented the best of human engineering, adaptable, efficient, and powerful enough to protect not just humanity, but any species that needed help. The galaxy was about to learn that the quiet human workers they had taken for granted were actually master builders preparing to forge a new future among the stars. The apex threat emerges. Captain Sarah Mitchell was analyzing routine trade reports when the emergency signals began flooding her communication systems. Her ship, the Stellar Harvester, appeared to be just another human cargo vessel moving between star systems, but like all human ships, it carried capabilities far beyond what anyone suspected. Sarah had been monitoring deep space communications for weeks, and what she was hearing now made her blood run cold. "Captain, we're receiving multiple distress calls from the Lumerian colonies," reported her communications officer, tech specialist Robert Kim. "The signals they're not normal pirate raids, ma'am. This is something much worse." Sarah pulled up the tactical display, which showed the location of 17 Lumerian worlds scattered across 3 star systems. The Lumerians were one of the most peaceful species in the galaxy, known for their beautiful cities that glowed with bioluminescent plants and their dedication to art and science. They had no military to speak of, relying on the Galactic Trade Union's promise of protection for all member species. "Show me the distress signals," Sarah ordered. The main screen filled with desperate transmissions from Lumerian civilian ships trying to escape their homeworlds. The images were horrifying. Massive dark vessels, larger than anything in the Galactic Trade Union fleet, were systematically stripping the surface of entire planets. These were not simple mining operations. The alien ships were using some kind of energy beam that turned solid matter directly into a stream of particles that could be collected and processed. "Dear stars," whispered Navigation Officer Lisa Park, "they're not just taking resources. They're consuming entire worlds." Sarah recognized the attackers. From intelligence reports that had been circulating among human commanders for months, the Apex Consortium had been operating in the outer regions of the galaxy, but most governments had dismissed them as just another corporate mining operation. The truth was far more sinister. The real enemy revealed. The Apex Consortium was not a corporation at all. They were a militaristic society that had perfected the art of consuming entire civilizations. Their technology allowed them to break down any organic or inorganic matter and reconstitute it into whatever they needed. They had been moving through the galaxy for centuries, always staying just ahead of any organized resistance. What made them particularly dangerous was their method of operation. They would appear in a system with overwhelming force, consume everything of value, including the planetary populations, and then move on before any help could arrive. The Galactic Trade Union's slow, bureaucratic processes were completely inadequate for dealing with such a threat. Sarah opened a secure channel to her chief science officer, Dr. James Park, who was working in the ship's hidden laboratory. To any external scanner, this appeared to be a standard cargo hold, but it actually contained some of the most advanced research equipment in the galaxy. "James, I need everything we have on Apex technology," Sarah said. "The Lumerian situation has escalated beyond anything we expected." Dr. Park appeared on her screen, his expression grim. "I've been analyzing their energy signatures for months, Sarah. The Apex ships are using what they call matter conversion technology. They can literally turn a planet into a fleet of warships within days. What's worse is that they seem to target civilizations based on their population density. The more people they can convert, the more powerful their forces become." Sarah felt sick as the implications became clear. The Apex were not just conquering civilizations, they were literally consuming them to fuel their own expansion. Every person they captured became part of their war machine. "How long do the Lumerians have?" she asked. "Based on their current consumption rate, maybe 18 hours before the main population centers are gone," Dr. Park replied. "The Galactic Trade Union won't even finish debating a response plan by then. Earth's hidden fleet mobilizes." Sarah activated the highest level of secure communications, sending an encrypted message directly to Earth Command. Within minutes, she received a response from Admiral Patricia Hayes herself. "Sarah, we've been monitoring the situation," the Admiral said. "The time for hiding is over. I'm authorizing immediate deployment of all Forge ships in your sector. The galaxy is about to learn what humanity has really been building for the past 40 years. Sarah felt a surge of both excitement and fear. For decades, she had dreamed of the day when humanity would reveal their true capabilities. But she had hoped it would be under better circumstances. Now they were being forced to act to save an entire species from extinction. "Admiral, what are our rules of engagement?" Sarah asked. "Protect the Lumerians at all costs," Admiral Hayes replied firmly. "And Sarah, don't hold back. The galaxy needs to understand that some lines cannot be crossed. Show them what human engineering can accomplish when we stop pretending to be simple workers." Sarah turned to her crew, all of whom had been waiting for this moment for years. They were not just cargo handlers and miners as they appeared to be. They were highly trained officers in humanity's secret fleet, specialists in advanced technology that would revolutionize galactic warfare. "Attention all stations," Sarah announced over the ship's communication system. "This is not a drill. We are transitioning from disguised operations to full combat readiness. Begin transformation sequence immediately." The stellar harvester began to change. What had appeared to be a simple cargo vessel started revealing its true nature. Hidden, armor plating emerged from concealed compartments. Weapon systems that had been disguised as mining equipment powered up. Most importantly, the ship's central manufacturing core came online. The forged ships awaken. Throughout the galaxy, 17 other vessels received the same orders. Mining stations like Elena's Omega-7 began dropping their disguises. Construction. Ships stopped pretending to build simple structures and started producing military equipment. Cargo haulers revealed advanced manufacturing capabilities that had been hidden for decades. Each forged ship was a mobile factory capable of producing anything from medical supplies to battleships. They had been designed by human engineers who understood that the galaxy was a dangerous place and that humanity would need to be able to adapt quickly to any threat. Dr. Park coordinated with his counterparts on other forged ships as they began their manufacturing sequences. "We're initializing production of the Defender-class vessels," he reported to Sarah. "These ships are specifically designed to counter Apex matter conversion technology. They should be able to protect civilian evacuation ships while we deal with the main threat." Sarah watched the tactical display as human ships throughout the sector began moving toward the Lumerian colonies. For the first time in 40 years, humanity was operating openly in space with their true capabilities visible. The other species in the galaxy were about to discover that the quiet workers they had taken for granted were actually master builders, who had been preparing for this exact scenario. "Captain, we're receiving confused transmissions from Galactic Trade Union monitoring stations," reported Robert Kim. "They're asking what's happening to all the human vessels. Their sensors show massive energy signatures that don't match any known human technology." Sarah smiled grimly. "Tell them they're about to see human technology for the first time. No more hiding, no more pretending to be less than we are. The forged ships are going to war. Race against time." As the human fleet moved toward the Lumerian colonies, Sarah calculated the timing. The Apex forces had already consumed 3 of the 17 Lumerian worlds. Billions of peaceful beings had been converted into raw materials for the enemy war machine. The remaining 14 worlds were under attack, with massive civilian populations trying to evacuate in ships that were never designed for combat. "Dr. Park, how quickly can we begin producing defensive platforms?" Sarah asked. "We can have the first squadron of defensive satellites ready in 4 hours, he replied. "But Sarah, we need to be strategic about this. The Apex will adapt to whatever we throw at them. We need to reveal our capabilities gradually, making them think each response is our maximum effort until we're ready for the decisive blow." Sarah understood. The human forged ships were capable of producing entire fleets within days. But if they revealed that capability too early, the Apex might retreat and return with overwhelming force. They needed to save the Lumerians while also gathering intelligence about Apex capabilities. "Begin with defensive operations," Sarah ordered. "Protect the evacuation ships and establish a perimeter around the remaining colonies. Make it look like we're struggling to keep up with their technology. Let them think they have the advantage until we're ready to show them what human ingenuity can really accomplish." As the forged ships moved into battle formation, Sarah thought about all the peaceful species in the galaxy who had no idea that their survival might depend on the workers they had always taken for granted. The Lumerians were just the beginning. If the Apex succeeded here, they would move on to other defenseless civilizations. The Zephyrians with their beautiful crystal cities. The Kalari with their artistic achievements. The Nexus Federation with their philosophical pursuits. All of them had treated humanity as useful but unremarkable. Soon they would learn that those unremarkable workers had actually been building the tools necessary to protect everyone from threats that the established powers could not even comprehend. The forged ships of humanity were about to forge a new future for the galaxy. one where peaceful civilizations could exist without fear of being consumed by those who saw other species as nothing more than raw materials for their war machines. The Forge fleet arrives. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Forge, watching the tactical display as her ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Lumerian system. What the Apex forces saw was a collection of oddly shaped human vessels that looked like oversized mining equipment and cargo haulers. What they could not detect was the massive manufacturing capability hidden within each ship's hull. "Admiral, we're detecting 47 Apex vessels in the system," reported Commander David Martinez from the tactical station. "They're currently consuming the fourth planet in the system. Estimated population loss is at 60%. Rebecca felt anger burn in her chest as she watched the enemy ships systematically destroying an entire world. The Apex vessels were massive, dark constructs that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with mechanical precision, their matter conversion beams turning the surface of the planet into streams of particles that flowed into their processing centers. "Status report on evacuation efforts," Rebecca ordered. "The Lumerian civilian ships are struggling, Admiral," replied Communications Officer Maria Santos. "Their vessels were never designed for emergency evacuation. Most of them are art transports and scientific research ships. They're being hunted down by Apex interceptors faster than they can escape." Rebecca had seen enough. For 40 years, humanity had watched from the shadows as the galaxy operated under the illusion that the Galactic Trade Union could protect its member species. Now it was time to show what real protection looked like. "All Forge ships, this is Admiral Stone," she broadcast on the Fleet Command frequency. "Begin decloak sequence, show them what we really are." The truth revealed across the Lumerian system, 17 human vessels began transforming. The disguises that had hidden their true nature for decades started falling away like masks being removed. Mining equipment revealed itself to be advanced manufacturing systems. Cargo bays opened to expose construction facilities capable of building starships. Simple hull plating retracted to show armor that could withstand planetary bombardment. The Prometheus Forge led the transformation. What had appeared to be a large but unremarkable cargo vessel expanded into its true form. The ship was actually 3 times larger than it had appeared, with massive manufacturing bays extending from its central core. Automated construction systems came online, immediately beginning production of defensive platforms and escort fighters. "Admiral, the Apex forces are responding to our presence," reported Commander Martinez. They appear to be laughing at us." Rebecca was not surprised. To the Apex, these still looked like human mining ships, just slightly larger than expected. The enemy had no concept of what they were actually facing. A transmission came through from the Apex fleet commander. The voice was cold and mechanical, translated through universal communication protocols. "Human vessels, you are interfering with Apex resource collection operations. Withdraw immediately or be processed along with the local population." Rebecca activated the fleet-wide communication system, ensuring that her response would be heard not just by the Apex forces, but by every monitoring station in the galaxy. "This is Admiral Rebecca Stone of the Terran Forge Fleet," she said, her voice carrying the authority of someone who commanded weapons that could reshape star systems. "You are attacking innocent civilians under the protection of humanity. You have one opportunity to withdraw from this system. If you continue your assault on the Lumerian people, you will face the full industrial might of the human species." The response from the Apex commander was predictable. "Humans are simple workers and builders. Your largest vessels are mining ships. You cannot threaten the Apex consortium." Rebecca smiled coldly. "You're about to learn what human builders can accomplish when we stop holding back. All Forge ships begin manufacturing operations. Show them what we've really been doing for the past 40 years. Industrial warfare begins. What happened next had never been seen before in galactic history. The human Forge ships began producing an entire fleet while floating in space. Manufacturing bays that had been hidden within their hulls extended and started assembling starships at incredible speed. Automated systems that could build anything from medical supplies to battleships switched to full military production. Dr. James Park, now serving as fleet science officer aboard the Prometheus Forge, coordinated the manufacturing operations. Admiral, we're beginning production of Mark 7 Defender-class vessels. First squadron will be ready in 47 minutes. We're also producing specialized antimatter conversion weapons designed specifically to counter Apex technology. The Apex forces watched in growing confusion as the human ships began launching newly constructed vessels. At first, the enemy commander assumed these were pre-built ships that had been hidden in cargo bays. But as the production continued and the number of new vessels exceeded what could possibly have been stored, the truth began to dawn on them. Impossible. The Apex commander transmitted, his mechanical voice showing the first hint of emotion. No species can manufacture starships during active combat. This violates all known laws of industrial capability. Rebecca opened the communication channel again. You've made a critical error in your understanding of humanity. You saw us building structures and mining materials for other species, and you assumed that was the limit of our abilities. You never bothered to ask what we were building for ourselves. The galaxy watches. In shock throughout the galaxy, monitoring stations and communication, networks were flooded with reports of what was happening in the Lemurian system. The Galactic Trade Union Council, which had been debating a response plan for 3 days, suddenly found themselves watching a human fleet manufacture reinforcements in real time during active combat. Elder Counselor Varix of the Kalari Empire stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Our intelligence reports indicated that humans possessed only basic manufacturing capabilities. These readings suggest industrial capacity that exceeds our most advanced shipyards. High Administrator Zesh of the Nexus Federation was equally stunned. We have employed human construction crews for decades. They built our orbital platforms and mining stations. How did we fail to recognize this level of technological sophistication? The Crystal Collective's governing matrix was processing thousands of calculations per second, trying to understand how their assessment of human capabilities could have been so completely wrong. Their conclusion was disturbing. Either humanity had developed these abilities very recently, or they had been deliberately concealing their true potential for decades. Meanwhile, in the Lemurian system, the newly manufactured human fleet was engaging the Apex forces with devastating effectiveness. The ships being produced by the Forge vessels were not just numerous, they were specifically designed to counter Apex technology. Engineering Officer Lisa Thompson coordinated the production from her station aboard the Stellar Harvester. We're manufacturing ships with adaptive armor that can resist matter conversion beams, she reported to the Fleet Command. Each vessel is equipped with reconstruction protocols, so even if damaged, they can repair themselves using available materials. The Apex realizes their mistake. As the human fleet continued to grow, the Apex commander found himself facing a type of warfare he had never encountered. Every ship his forces destroyed seemed to be replaced by 2 new ones within hours. The humans were not just fighting with a fleet, they were fighting with an entire industrial civilization. All Apex vessels implement maximum firepower protocols, the enemy commander ordered. Focus fire on the large human vessels. They appear to be the source of their manufacturing capability. The Apex fleet concentrated their matter conversion weapons on the Forge ships, expecting to see them dissolve under the intense energy bombardment. Instead, they watched in horror as the human vessels absorbed the attack with minimal damage, their adaptive armor adjusting to resist the specific energy frequencies being used against them. Admiral, the enemy is focusing on our Forge ships, reported Commander Martinez. Their weapons are having minimal effect on our defensive systems. Rebecca nodded. Dr. Park, begin Phase 2 manufacturing. It's time to show them what our real weapons can do. The Forge ships began producing larger vessels, including specialized dreadnoughts designed for ship-to-ship combat. These were not the defensive platforms they had started with, but full combat vessels equipped with weapons that could crack planets. The human fleet was no longer just defending the Lemurians, they were demonstrating that they had the industrial capacity to outbuild any force in the galaxy. Attention Apex forces, Rebecca transmitted. You came to this system expecting to face helpless civilians and a slow bureaucratic response from the Galactic Trade Union. Instead, you have encountered humanity operating at full industrial capacity. This is your final warning. Withdraw now, or face the consequences of attacking species under our protection. The Apex Commander's response revealed the first hint of uncertainty. How many vessels can you produce? Rebecca's answer sent shockwaves through every monitoring station in the galaxy. As many as we need, for as long as we need. Human forged ships can manufacture an entire fleet every day. We can keep this up for years if necessary. The question is, can you? For the first time in centuries, the Apex Consortium faced an enemy that could outproduce them. They had always relied on their ability to consume civilizations faster than those civilizations could respond. Now, they were discovering what happened when they encountered a species that could build ships faster than they could destroy them. The galaxy was witnessing the birth of a new type of warfare, where victory went not to the species with the most advanced weapons, but to the one with the greatest ability to adapt and build. And in that type of conflict, humanity had advantages that no other species had even imagined possible.